Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Getting to the Bottom Line, where I'm your host, Stephanie Smith, owner of New Light Financial Solutions, where we help entrepreneurs unlock more cash profit and peace of mind in their business by fixing the top financial drivers that are holding them back. And on this podcast, my goal is to put into perspective all the things that can impact your revenue, profit, and cash flow. And I'm excited to have with me today Pete, who does all kinds of things for all the business, but also helps plan for exiting, which might not necessarily impact your bottom line for your current business, but definitely your bottom line after you sell. So I'm really excited to have you on the show today so we can talk about this, Pete.
It's an interesting thing, Stephanie, that a lot of business owners, we get into business and it's crazy. It's, all sorts of stuff going on. We're making decisions, we're building our business. It's that normal ramp up stage. But often people will say, well, like, why do I need to start thinking about the exit? And it's not just the exit. It's not actually that date, whether that date's a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. It really doesn't matter that. It's the mindset around exit planning. It's the mindset around always creating value in your business, which is the same way as setting your business up for the proper exit too. Because if we want to exit our business at the maximum amount of potential, it's got to have all these processes, people in place, all this stuff going. We need to maximize our profit. We need to do all the things that you do and you speak about on your podcast, because that's when at the end of the day, our business is in its best financial shape. Our business is giving us the most freedom as business owners, and our business is worth the most value. So why wouldn't we want to be doing that all the time, right from the beginning?
That's so true. And I do think the mindset shift, right? If your mindset is that I want to create the value in your business, then your actions will follow suit with that as well. And if you are looking to sell, you want to get maximum the maximum amount that you
Yeah.
can. So there's lots of things you can do for that, but I'm not sure everyone really knows what that looks like or the process for that. So I'm glad that you're here today and we can talk a little bit about that. But before we dive into things, I want to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself and your business and everything and tell us a
Yeah,
little
for
more about
sure.
you.
For sure. Well, I've been a lifelong entrepreneur, been in business for 30 years, continue to run some shoe stores. We have some shoe stores, but I spend most of my time these days coaching business owners. I work about a day a week in my shoe stores on average, which is kind of what I coach to. I coach to the fact that you shouldn't always have to be involved in everything in your business. And as we go from operator to owner of the business, which is part of setting it up to be sold eventually too, just think about it. If you're owning your business and you're the hub and spoke of your business and making every decision, dealing with every customer or dealing with all your majors, dealing with every supplier, making all the marketing choices, all that stuff, how valuable is that to somebody else when you're leaving the business? So over my career, my 30 years, I ran retail businesses. I still do for the last 15 years. The first 15 years was in the service side of things with multiple truck operations and growing cleaning businesses, bathroom remodeling companies. So we've bought and sold our own businesses, been involved in franchises, exited franchises. I was a business broker through a certain portion of my life there too, where I was helping other people buy and sell businesses. So business has been my life essentially. I love it. I get excited when I talk about it and when I talk to people about it. I mean, it's fun for me. So how long have I been coaching is another question I get asked, and I generally will say, well, pretty much all my life. How long have I been getting paid to coach business owners? For about the last 8 or so years, and it's been a part of something that I look for. And I do a lot of speaking and things like that at different business conferences and what have you. And I've written a small book called The Business Owner Breakthrough, which is also the name of one of my podcasts. So it's really my life, Chris, and I love chatting about or Stephanie, and I love chatting about this sort of stuff as we kind of roll through these different stages of life for ourselves and our families and for our businesses. And I think the some of the interesting stuff getting back to exit planning, Stephanie, is that about 50% of the businesses in North America exit not because they want to, the business owner because they want to, it's because they have to. And you probably know someone, and I'm talking to you, the listener here right now. You probably know someone that in business that has passed away prematurely. Maybe they got cancer, maybe, that hit by the bus syndrome, whatever it was that caused them to leave this world prematurely in an unplanned fashion. Another big one is divorce. Divorce splits a lot of couples, obviously, but it also splits a lot of business and it causes major disruption. Another one is partnership disagreements. If
Mm.
you're in business with a partner, one day that partnership will end, guaranteed, based on something that happens down the road, whether it's planned or unplanned. That partnership's going to end. Are you ready for that? Have you prepared for it? Is it part of your exit planning? Things like COVID, things like tariffs. So these sort of things can cause major disruptions that are unplanned issues that happen within the business structure. So all of these things, distress is what we call that one, all of these different things can cause you to exit your business prematurely. So getting back to when we first started, why would you not want to have your business ready to go when and if you had to put it up for sale? It's just good business sense because often our businesses are the most valuable thing in our portfolio. Sometimes next to your house, sometimes more than your house, depending on what stage of business you're at. And a lot of business owners don't even know what their business truly is worth, which is often where we start with a range of value. And it's like, hey, and somebody will say, oh, I was talking to somebody at the golf course the other day. They sold their business for $1 million. I should be able to get $1 million for mine. And that's not good enough. Like, let's get a proper range of values so that we actually know, what your house is worth. They're comparables. Two doors down the road, it's the same model as your house. It sold for 500 grand. Yours is 500 grand, like give or take, right? But in business, it's different. And we expect, and I deal with a lot of business owners that are coming and saying, I think I want to exit within the next year or two, or next 3 to 5 is a better window than the next year because we have some time to actually initiate change. But and they're like, well, I should be able to get $1 million from my business. And then when we look at it, it's like, well, actually, it's worth 2 million, or maybe actually it's worth 300,000. And that's sometimes a big shock to some people because it's part of their financial plan for their family. Because we're building our business to prop up our family. We're not trying to prop up our business all the time, right? The idea is that your business should prop up your family and the life that you want to live.
Yeah, I love
So,
all that. And I think you brought up some very good points that we talk a lot in my industry of you run out of money and you have to close the doors, right? So that happens a lot.
mhm.
But there are so many other reasons why you might need to close the doors. And if you're not ready to sell, then what's going to happen is it just dissipates. You just turn in your papers, right? But you don't want that to happen. And I think getting prepared makes a lot of sense. And we also do bookkeeping on the side, and it's amazing how many people just don't even have stuff on the books that they should, their assets, things that
Oh my gosh.
that make your business worth more. And it's like you have to have all that stuff organized because it's the way that your business comes off and presents itself in different opportunities.
When we start digging into this stuff, I mean, I part of my website, which is called the Exit Ready Business, we have an assessment, and that assessment goes through a variety of different things. But you know as well as I know, and most of the listeners probably know, that one of the first things somebody's going to look at in your business are the financials.
Yes.
Like, but what do we try to do as business owners? We try and minimize our income because we don't want to pay
Taxes.
taxes, right?
Right. Yeah.
So it gets into this whole idea of how do we recast our financials to show sellers discretionary earnings, and you know what, we need to have some history of that when we go into due diligence, because most small business owners, Stephanie, haven't been in due diligence. They've never experienced that. So one of the things that I work with them through is to show them the eyes of a buyer when it's like, this is how people are going to look at your business and this is what they're going to tear apart, and they will tear it apart. They will. So if
As they
things aren't,
should.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, they want to
right?
make sure that everything's right
Yeah.
and correct. So they should look into everything. And I think
One-
just to also point out that like people don't they avoid. We work with a lot of businesses that avoid their financials, which is not the approach either. So you should definitely be aware of what's going on in your business and want to stay connected. And you don't have to be the expert, but either bring someone in to help you, or you should at bare minimum, be able to answer some questions about what's going on.
Stephanie, using an outsourced partner like yourself to, make sense of these things is super important because a lot of small business owners don't have the background. But one of the things I can say here with that if you don't have sort of that bookkeeping financial background, it's okay if you don't know everything about it, but you do need to know a lot about it. And if you don't feel, and a lot of small business owners are almost ashamed to admit they don't understand how to read a income statement or a balance sheet or a cash flow analysis or any of these things, and they don't want to sort of say, hey, because they feel, hey, I've been in business for 5 years or 10 years, and now I'm kind of past when I think I should know this stuff. But it's never too late. You need to get in there. You need to understand the numbers. You need to understand what it means because that's the clarity that somebody's going to want when they want. If a potential owner's asking you about this sort of stuff, and you can't be very clear and very confident in your numbers, that's going to take down the multiple that you get because if they don't see you being confident in those answers, they're not going to be confident.
That's true. And it makes me think of Shark Tank. Like people
It's
that go on
true.
Shark Tank and they ask some basic questions and they don't know. And it's like, first of all, you should have watched the show before you came on, right? But it's the same concept, right? You should be able to answer those kind of questions about your business.
It
And if
is.
nothing else, to your point, hire a partner who can come with you to help with that. One of our clients right now, we're working with them and they're looking to sell to an ESOP, and it's a lot of the same conversations. What
Hmm.
is this and what is that? And they're asking a lot of questions. And that's what we're there to help partner with them. So they have that information because they've just been running a successful business and they're,
Exactly.
they're trying to get everything in order.
And some business owners don't even know what the word ESOP means, and it's in employee stock ownership program, right? And so even knowing what your out options are to sell to a third party, to sell to your management structure, to do a family transfer, like all of these different things, and understanding the differences and amongst these is part of that journey because a lot of business owners have worked their business for 40 years and have never been through the process before. It's brand new to them. So, and they need to start the process and start educating themselves well before they're going to be ready to put this up for sale potentially down the road. And so it's just one of those things, the journey, the strategy of building the value in your business and knowing down the road that if I ever do need to exit this business, how would that look? And should, who are my partners that I'm going to use? A good lawyer, a good CFO, a good accountant, maybe a family transition specialist, a business coach, a exit planner, whatever the case is. What's your team? What does your team look like so that you can get the information and so that you can feel comfortable in this big transaction? It's like getting married. It's like getting divorced. It's like dying. It's like all of these big things in life. This is a big thing in life and you need to prepare for it.
Yeah. And so I want to know, because you've done this a lot, right? And you've talked to so many people through this
Yeah.
situation. What's like the top mistake, the biggest mistake, or the top couple of mistakes? Because I feel like every situation is a little
Yeah.
different, probably, that
They
you've
are.
seen people who are looking to sell
Mhm.
find themselves in dealing with.
Well, I mean, I could go through just like literally lots of different examples, but number one is bad books, which completely aligns with what you guys do. Number one is bad books. So we need to get clarity around the books. Number two is the owner, it's too owner dependent, which is the whole structure behind my coaching, the work that I do on my coaching side of things, which is moving from operator to owner so that you're removing yourself as the hub and spoke, which is part of our assessment. Are you the hub and spoke of the business? And if you are the hub and spoke of the business, that's a problem. And it may not be a problem right now, but it would be a problem if you do have to exit your business. Because Once you leave, and if everything's going through your head and we don't have the right people in place, the right process in place, the right accountability, which is a scary word for a lot of business owners, setting up accountability structures, which is one of the big things that I help people do, then the value goes down. So if you think about, let's just say easy numbers, your business makes 100 grand. So if we're thinking about 100 grand, well, if the multiple of 100 grand is zero, that means there's no value in your business because that 100 grand all goes through you. And if you're no longer in the business, the phone doesn't ring, the phone doesn't get answered, the email doesn't get answered, all that stuff tomorrow. There's really no value in that business, like very little.
That I feel like is really eye-opening because there are a lot of people in that situation, right? And I think it's hard because when you start the business, it is you. It always starts with you,
Totally get that.
usually,
Yep.
because you're the one responsible for making everything successful
Yeah.
and you're in charge. And it is a journey along the way to figure out how to hire the right people that complement your skills and delegate and let
Hmm.
go
Yeah.
of the things you've done and learning how to lead instead of just being involved. So you help it sounds like you help people through that process. What does that look like for you?
Well, basically, I'm a business coach. So depending on what level of business, I don't do a lot of startup work, Stephanie. But I mean, I have done, but I tend to work more with businesses that are sort of they're at a certain ceiling and they want to push through the ceiling, whatever it may be. So we'll do some value building work essentially, which is that coaching side of things. So it may end up. I wrote a small book called The Business Owner Breakthrough, and it's all around the 5 Ps, which I've added another 5 P. But I've got this whole system now, and it's called the business value breakdown. And with that, what we do is we have the top portion of it is helping that leader, helping that owner work on their communication skills, their accountability skills, and their structure skills. Okay, which all three of those are a problem for a lot of small business owners. And then underneath that lies this 6P structure. And the 6P structure is understand your promise, align your product, your process, and your people to that promise. Then you can promote it to get to one of your favorite words, profit. And when we have that profit, now we need to have the clear sort of views of those from the exit planning side of things, because this works the same if we're looking to grow our business, right? Once we have the structure in place, once we have the people in place, and the people are your ideal client, your ideal suppliers, and any of your outsource people that help deliver your promise, then we can actually go to the banks with this. It's a plan. And we can go to the banks and we can say, "Oh, I want to start another location. I want to start a new thing, or I'm going to add on to my business in this area," or whatever the case is. So whether you're looking to put that plan together for your own freedom in your business as you want to move up the channel and get some of your time back because maybe your business is a little bit more profitable now and you can afford to start hiring. Well, how do I do that? How do I work through these different sections of growth so that we can work through that in a systemized manner with frameworks that make sense, that we can repeat on a quarterly basis, and that we can use as a foundation for this successful business to build the value in it every day. And that's generally what I do with the coaching clients that I work with, is set up these systems that they can then run for as long as they want to, until one day they say, "You know what, I think I am ready to exit this business. Maybe I want to buy a bigger business. Maybe I want to retire. Maybe I want to take this money and buy a small apartment building with it." Whatever the case is, those are your choices. But until you get to that stage, you really can't. You're just mired down in running the day-to-day operations.
And everything you're doing is so necessary for the business owner to take that step away, right? And I love that you're talking about it can't all rely on you and what you're doing, and part of that is documenting processes. I know people have a hard time doing that too. Like, how does everything run and function? And hire, you
Big
mentioned
piece.
people, right? When's the right time to hire? And when does
Hmm.
it make sense to bring more team members on? Can I even afford it? Like, there's so many questions around it. So I think it is helpful to have someone that can help guide you through that process. So you're not just spending all of your money because that happens too, right? And you're just You end
It
up in the
does.
hole because you're not making good business decisions.
It
But I'm
does.
curious,
And
how long do people usually work with you for?
I've literally had some clients for 5 years where I'm working with them either on a quarterly basis or on a biweekly basis is a very common sort of structure for me. Hop on a call every 2 weeks and then sort of do a bigger one on a quarterly basis. But it depends on what stage they're at. If we're doing exit planning stuff where they really want to just get that sort of headspace around what they need to do to get their business in a more clear format, so that maybe a couple of years down the road they can get it ready to list. Those ones are usually sort of 3 to 6 months as we kind of go through some stuff that they would normally be going through in due diligence. So I'm sort of helping them through all of this stuff, getting those things in order. So now you've got your package essentially ready when you want to go and list it. If you're going to list it with a business broker, or if depending on the size of the business, if it's private equity or whatever the case is, or maybe you're just going to say to your accountant and lawyer, do you know anybody? And there's lots of different ways that these happen, but the idea is the information still needs to be ready to go. And so having this lens of how a buyer would look at your potential business is a really important piece. So we start working through that, and depending on how bad the stuff is, because Stephanie, sometimes it's not the best. Then we've got to we sometimes it means hooking up with a CFO, a partial CFO. Sometimes it means we need to get somebody in there that's going to write process for them. Sometimes it means we need to clean up their books, like or their, like, I'm talking their legal books, because they haven't even had minutes in their corporate books for 30 years. Like, but these are the kind of things that need to be done as part of this process. They should be done anyway, but a lot of times we're dealing with the fires of the day and we just kind of put them off, and then we put them off for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years, and kind of like just kind of they're in the back corner with dust on them, and it's like, don't look at them until. But there is one day, this is guaranteed. There is a day down the road, if you're a business owner, you will exit your business. That is a guarantee. So why are we not preparing for these kind of things? And that's sort of my question. It's just good business strategy to be prepared for when you want to or have to exit your business.
That's so true. I think part of the problem is that there's not enough education out there for business owners of all the things you're required to do, from business formation and the type of business, and if you change that along the way, and what things you need to have done.
Mhm.
And we all just we go into business because we're passionate about something, or you're buying
Yeah.
a business or whatever it is. You usually love what you're doing. And all the other stuff, like you forget that before you're going into whatever you're doing, that you have to do all the other things. And I do think there's a lack of resources to teach business owners on the requirements of what they should be keeping up with. And to what you said, we're just busy. Business owners are busy. We're doing all the things all the time, and especially if it's your livelihood, you're making sure that things are running, not necessarily all the other stuff. But I love that you're helping people get organized and get ready for whatever comes into play. And we need more people like you doing that along the way.
Yeah. Stephanie, it's just such a big piece. And I'll tell you, sort of one of my overarching reasons why I do what I do is because you said business owners are busy. Well, it's my belief that business owners are the backbones of their communities. If you look at it, they're typically the people that are the coaches on the little league baseball team or the hockey team or the football team or whatever, the swim team. They're usually running the cub packs and the girl guides, and it's the business owners that are typically doing all of these things in their community, for the people, while running successful businesses. They're raising money to put the church steeple back together. They're raising money to build the wing on the hospital or the new playground in their community. You'll find, and I'm not saying always, but a big portion of these people are business owners. And it's my sort of philosophy that in some small way, if I can help that business owner make more money and get back more of their time, that they will use a portion of the money that they made and they will use a portion of the time that they have to give back to their communities. And that makes me kind of feel good in it, just like a nice little warm way. And because I really do have this belief, like you said, business owners are busy people. Well, business owners are busy people, and if I can give them more of their time, they are going to do better things with it.
I love that. Oh, I love that. And that's so great. In giving back to the community, they're the ones employing a lot of people in the community too, as it is. And
For sure.
I believe that too. The more successful you are, the more you are giving back in ways that you probably don't realize. So I love that you're helping people with that, and that's a mission of yours. But this has been such a great conversation. So I want to know if someone wants to start working with you or they're thinking about exiting and they want more information, where can they find that and connect with you online?
So the best is Pete-Mohr, Mohr.com. So Pete-Mohr, Mohr.com. All of my different websites kind of flow out of that one, the Exit Ready Business, Simplifying Entrepreneurship, all that sort of stuff. And if you just want to have a chat, I'm always happy to have a chat with any business owner. And the way to connect with me there for half an hour or so, completely free. Just we'll chat about your business, where you're at in your journey as a business owner. You can just go to speaktopete.com. So that's speaktopete.com and book in a calendar appointment with me and we'll have a chat.
That's awesome. So I encourage everyone out there to reach out to Pete and talk to him, and especially if you're looking to get ready to exit, but just in general to get more organized. And if you're looking to find out more about me and what we do at New Light Financial Solutions, you can find me online at newlightfs.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn and everywhere, but I am a Smith, so it is harder to find me as there's so many of us out there. And I also just call out that if you're looking for tips on how to grow your cash and more profit in your business, sign up for our biweekly newsletter on our website. We would love to have you. But thank you so much, Pete, for coming on the show. This has been such a great conversation.
Thanks for having me, Stephanie. I really appreciate it. Make it a great day.
Awesome. That's all for this episode of Getting to the Bottom Line. I hope you all join me again next time. Bye, everyone.